days from now.
Right.
This Friday, Dean Malenko sits down to tell his story with Tony Schiavone, and Dean's got quite the story to tell. I think that Dean Malenko is one of those guys who is a little bit like Arn Anderson in that, he's funny. He knows how to tell a story. He's been around the business forever, but he has so much respect for the business that he's always really played everything close to the vest. I think he just did his first shoot interview ever. He normally doesn't do, sort of on stage panel discussions and things like that. And he's never written a book, and he doesn't do social media at all. But this is a guy who started working in the territories in '79, a multi-generation wrestler. Of course, his dad, a famous wrestler in his own right, Boris Malenko. And he starts out as a referee in Tampa and even works briefly as a referee for the WWF. And I think that probably is news to some folks. And then he pops up in ECW is really his first big sort of mainstream American situation in '94. And he's a part of the triple threat with Shane Douglas, but his feud with Eddie Guerrero and those series of matches really helped put him on the map. And, just a year later, he winds up in WCW and has a heck of a run there until he jumped ship to the WWE. And then when he, backs it down and decides to go ahead and retire, he's been backstage with the WWE for a long time. And that all finally came to an end in April of this year. And gosh, I think less than a month later, he was announced as being part of AEW, and roll tide, man.
I'm very interested to talk to him, not only about his career, but his father's career. And, because I knew of Professor Boris Malenko, but more later in his career when he was a manager, but, he was really, really, really cool. And I look forward to that. And, Malenko was in many ways, and as we're seeing right here, everything he did was so snug and just like a Eddie Guerrero. And that's why he and Eddie had such a great run, I'm sure, because everything they did looked real. That's because a lot of the shit they did was real, but
I think a lot of people, may not remember that Dean has a brother, Joe, who actually, worked a little bit with ECW back in the day. And I think he was involved, briefly in the Jericho angle in WCW. And I think now he's out of the business, but Dean Malenko, man, a guy that not a lot of people know a lot about, but very, very well respected. I think he was rated the number one wrestler in the world back in 1997 in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which is a great honor, and won Technical Wrestler of the Year in the Observer in '96 and '97, Feud of the Year in '95. Honored to be, in the Hardcore Hall of Fame. Lots of gold picked up along the way, light heavyweight championship in the WWF, and tag titles and cruiserweights and US and WCW. And I think we mentioned tag title and TV champ for ECW. So everywhere he went, he picked up some gold, and he did it when a lot of other people may have thought that was not in the cards for him, because he wasn't, especially in that era. You got to think, when you're starting wrestling in '79 and you're going to go through all of the '80s, people wanted monsters, and that was not him, man. But he made it work.
I don't even need to do my research now. Thank you very much for all of that.
You just did it all, man. And that's the thing too. Like, I encourage anybody who's like, I think his best storyline work was probably with Jericho in '98, but the matches that really stood out to me the most are his feud with Eddie Guerrero in ECW, and then his feud with Rey Mysterio in WCW. Like, his stuff in the fall of '96, like, go watch Halloween Havoc '96 with Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio, man. Those motherfuckers just wore it out, and everything he did looked authentic. It looked legitimate. It looked like a real athletic competition. Hey, we're seeing a promo here for the old 6 shirts. So it's got the NWO logo on the front, and it's got a 6 ball like from billiards or pool on the back.
That was a cool shirt, man.
It was a cool shirt. Less is
WWE
more.
still sell them?
No. They still sell NWO shirts, and
Yeah.
I mean, the guy Kevin Nash is still making well into the six figures, just on royalties. I mean, all these years later, from those shirts. So something.
Now this is a much better look from the Nitro Girls, don't you think? Than the red that we saw them on.